For two-way family favorites.
That the BBC should remain the sole broadcaster on national sound radio, virtually unchanged.
Desert Island Discs.
The day of the launch, and I remember it was an Easter Saturday, and we had this restaurant in Fleet Street hired for the day, and the public relations had laid on all the press and TV, and all the boys were all there in the restaurant. And I must have picked the only restaurant in London that had put in some very modern heating, so that all this copper was in the ceiling and the floor and the walls, copper sheets with heating in it. And of course, copper doesn't let in radio signals. So when we went to tune in the test, coming up to 12, the test broadcast that was going on, which was Ray Charles, incidentally, because the one thing that at no time during the day in England would you hear Ray Charles. So we figured if we use Ray Charles when we find it. And of course, then I went to tune desperately trying to tune the set in to give credibility to the whole thing. We couldn't get it because of that reason, because of the reason of the copper sheeting. And so it was then this moment with all these journalists all sort of starting thinking, what are we all here for? And I suddenly had the idea, boom, take the set and go out into the street. Right? You know, this could be it, right? So I took the set, and as I went out into the street, quite a few of them started to follow. And it ended up then with all these journalists and people all coming out of the restaurant, all into the street. And sure enough, as soon as we got out there, bang, in came Ray.
Hello and happy Easter to all of you. This is Christopher Moore with the first record program on Radio Caroline. The first record is by the Rolling Stones, and I'd like to play it for all of the people who worked to put the station on the air, and particularly for Ronan.
I can't get no satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. I'll try.
I think I heard about it from an older kid at school who was saying, you won't believe this, there's radio stations like the ones they have in the States where they play music all the time. And, you know, I was accustomed to getting half an hour here or an hour there, or sitting through an entire horrible, boring, light program comedy show just to hear one guest appearance by a group halfway through. And went home and sort of got the radio and took it up to my room and closed the door and found this thing, and suddenly there was Martha and the Vandellas dancing in the street, and I thought, yes, take me there. What pirate radio did was to take the music that London hipsters were listening to, all those rare imported records, whether in the early days they were soul and R&B records, and a bit later on weird acidy records from psychedelic California. They took those records out of an elite audience and put them out there where you know, spotty little bozos like me could pick up on them and have our minds twisted by them.